All right, let's just jump right into this explainer because we are tackling a seriously powerful framework today. We spend so much time talking about despair as this, inescapable heavyweight, but what if the remedy is actually way more active than we've been led to believe? Today, we're unpacking a source called the Kinetic Cure, Action and Purpose over Despair. And it does something completely fascinating. It reframes our emotional struggles, not as permanent biological defects, but as literal issues of momentum, movement, and meaning. So if you've ever felt just completely stuck in neutral, trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this. Because I want you to honestly ask yourself a question right off the bat. What if feeling stuck isn't just a biological misfiring? We are so quick to assume that a heavy heart or a stagnant mind is strictly a chemical imbalance in the brain, right? But the source material we're looking at today challenges us to hit pause on that. It's asking us to really examine our daily lives, our habits, and our mindsets before we just automatically accept a purely biological verdict. So let's get into section 1, which is all about looking at causes that are more than just biology. Now, the source rapid fires a bunch of physical and psychological factors that constantly masquerade as biological depression. I mean, think about it. For a lot of people, feeling down might actually stem from just living an unhealthy lifestyle. It could be hidden hormonal imbalances, specific nutritional deficiencies, or even systemic inflammation that's just wreaking havoc on your body's energy levels. And honestly, let's not overlook the psychological weight of simply feeling hopeless about the future. The big takeaway here is that before we label ourselves as fundamentally broken, we have to audit these entirely solvable everyday factors first. All right, moving into section 2, we're looking at learned helplessness and what the source calls the victim trap. It is so easy to fall into this specific mindset trap where your time, your energy, and your potential basically just get locked up in a vault. And the source makes this really fascinating observation. These days, you see people who have immense resources, literally money, power, you name it, and they still develop this condition. Because learned helplessness, it isn't about what's actually in your bank account. It's this creeping self-pity. It becomes a victim mentality where you start truly believing you are entirely at the mercy of your circumstances. You convince yourself you're just a passenger in your own life. And we absolutely have to contrast that fantasy with reality. On one hand, you have the victim mentality. When someone believes they're a victim, and hey, the source acknowledges they might genuinely be a victim in some situations, they start feeling like someone else has to step in and take care of them. They're just waiting for a rescuer. They're waiting for the universe to magically change the rules to help them out. But then you look at the harsh reality, and the text hits us with a cold, hard truth here. Those spontaneous rescues and magical world changes, they are most probably never going to happen. Waiting around for them is literally just prolonging the despair. Which brings us perfectly to part 3, rejecting the depression label and treating it as a temporary state. Okay, I genuinely think this might be the most empowering concept in this entire explainer. The text explicitly states, don't let anyone tell you that you are depressed. Think about that for a second. Instead of accepting depression as this permanent, unchangeable identity, like it's a core personality trait, you need to reframe it. You are simply in a depressed state of mind. The difference there is huge. A state of mind is temporary, right? It's conditional. You're in this state due to specific identifiable reasons. And because of that, you can actually address those reasons. It shifts you from being a helpless patient waiting for a cure to an active problem solver.
So how do we do that? Well, let's look at section 4, creating momentum through action.
The source completely redefines the emotional struggle right here. Listen to this quote. This state of depression is a result of lack of momentum and movement. I love this because it strips away all the heavy clinical jargon and reduces the feeling of despair to a simple lack of kinetic energy. It's basically saying that stagnation is the actual enemy. If you're just sitting still waiting for inspiration to suddenly strike before you decide to move, you've got the entire equation backward. And to really hammer this home, the text uses this brilliant physics metaphor. Any object will remain unexcited unless it is in the state of motion. It's literal physics. By applying this fundamental rule to ourselves, we can objectify the feeling of depression. It makes it so much easier to tackle logically instead of getting lost in the emotion of it all. You aren't fundamentally broken. You are just an object at rest. And how do you change an object at rest? You apply force. You introduce motion. You start moving first, and the excitement, the energy, the motivation, all of that follows the action, not the other way around. And that leads us right into section 5, turning passion into purpose. This is essentially our roadmap to momentum. The source lays out the exact progression you need to take to get from simply staying busy to actually creating ultimate value for the world. So, step 1, just pursue a mission to stay busy. Alongside getting your lifestyle healthy, you just need to be doing something, anything. But step 2 is where we refine it. That work has to give you a sense of daily progress. You actually need to see yourself leveling up and becoming more skillful day by day, which naturally transitions into step 3, gaining mastery in something you love. The source notes that this specific step brings immense joy and satisfaction. And finally, step 4 is the absolute pinnacle. Once you are passionate enough, you turn that passion into work that creates value in other people's lives. You start looking outward and using your newly developed skills to solve their problems.
Because ultimately, actively serving others with your developed skills, that is the cure for the helpless mindset. Look at the real-world results of taking this kind of action. By capitalizing on your expertise and your passion to help other people, you generate immense joy and deep satisfaction. And, most importantly for this explainer, engaging in this specific combo of action and purpose is exactly what effectively pulls you out of that depressed state of mind. You aren't just distracting yourself anymore. You're rendering the victim mentality completely obsolete because you've become profoundly useful.
So to wrap up this explainer, let's do a quick, firm check-in on your own momentum. Based on everything we've unpacked from the source today, the absolute best antidote to despair is kinetic. It is movement. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative question to think about. What is one object in your life? Maybe it's a project, a habit, a relationship, or even just getting your physical body to the gym that you can put into motion today. Remember, no one is coming to rescue you. But the good news is, you have all the power to generate your own momentum. Get moving, start building, and change your state of mind.